The curse made us from stone to protect Girdlegard. Against orcs, ogres, and all the other beasts of Tion. We are the guardians of Girdlegard. We are the children of the Divine Smith. We are the Dwarves.
From the workshop.
I'd be happy to pass on this present to the greenskins. My king! What are you doing here?
Giselbert I, the father of the Fifthling clan,
has not been on the front line of battle against the creatures of Tion for many cycles. The king surveys the battlefield and the defenders with a grave expression.
We are too few.
This you know as well as he does. But there will be no reinforcements arriving. Hundreds of brave warriors lie inside the fortress dying. The illness is running rampant. It brings weakness and death.
Stay at your posts. Be as steadfast as the granite of which we are made. Nothing can break us. Vrakas is with us.
Huh?
Huh?
Yes?
What?
Huh? These are the ones who attacked us on the tunnels. We suffered great losses beating them back.
Come here and I'll split you like a straw, you treacherous elf!
In his fury, the old king radiates a ferocious power that none of Citalia's children could withstand. But the slight, willowy being sitting astride the shadow mare just grins down, mockingly.
You are mistaken. We are Alpha. We are here to destroy the elves.
All peace-loving beings here in Girdlegard are under our protection, and you cannot open the gate that has barred your path into Girdlegard since the creation of the world.
Not us, but perhaps one of your kind.
This cannot be. Silence, you fool! Vrakas, forgive me for what I am about to do.
Quickly! In formation! You must hold them back until I close the gate!
Yes?
Look at me. I am Syntheras, the Reaper of your death. I will take your life, and the land will take your soul.
Get out of my sight, pointy ears, and let me delight at the closed gate a little longer.
The gate may have closed, but when you rise again from the dead by the power of the land, you will be one of us, and you will open it.
Never! My soul belongs to Brakas.
No. Your soul now belongs to the land, and henceforth you will belong to it forever. Now die, and return. Then hand us Girdlegard.
You're a perfectionist, Tungdil Bolafar.
I've got a reputation to uphold. If you can't rely on the metalwork of a dwarf, what can you rely on? What can I do for you?
For me, nothing. It's Lot Yonan. He wants to see you in his study.
In your mind, you go through all the recent incidents that might have annoyed the Magus. Apart from a few little squabbles with his famuli, nothing worth mentioning happened since the incident with your beard. You nod.
Okay. I'd better not keep the Magus waiting.
See you later. There's goulash for dinner.
There was a time when you could hardly lift the heavy hammer. Now you barely notice it anymore, and it feels like an extension of your arm. Smithing is in your blood. This is where you swung the forge hammer for the first time 30 cycles ago. No one taught you the craft. It was enough for you to watch Lot Yonan's old smith at work. Whenever the workshop was empty, you practiced and quickly mastered the craft with ease. You've worked a bit more on Sunya's birthday present last night. The little one is crazy about horses. You, on the other hand, prefer to keep your distance unless you're fitting them with hooves. Too many legs and way too big. Everything you know about dwarves you learn from books. The divine smith created the dwarves, and from time to time you make him an offering of some crumbs of gold. It's the most valuable thing you have to offer Vracus. There are apparently dwarves who have never seen the sky. And you too feel more comfortable when you have rock over your head. If only you didn't long to see more of the world, a longing that grows stronger with every year.
Hey, groundling! Come to the kitchen, we need you!
Jolison, a 4th degree famulus and your favourite foe among the students of magic, gives you a disparaging glance and disappears without waiting for your reply. Lot Yonan's vaults are equipped with laboratories, a library, and private rooms for the famuli. Together with the forge, the kitchen, and the other utility rooms, it makes up quite an impressive complex. But compared to the courts of the other magi, the seat of power in Yonandar is small and modest.
Tangdale! Quick! Or the goulash will get burnt!
You immediately recognise what the problem is. A chain running over a pulley for positioning the cauldron is detached from its mounting, and the cauldron stuck in the fireplace. It's a heavy load, and none of the famuli, who feel superior even during kitchen duty, dare do anything. They might burn their fingers, or even get a bit dirty.
It'd be a waste of goulash. And I'm hungry. Here, hold this.
With as much concern in your voice as you can muster, you say,
Oh, no, this doesn't look good.
You're pleased to notice he's dripping with sweat.
I'll get you back for this, groundling! You damned freak!
For a moment you hope the famulus really does raise his hand to you. But then he comes to his senses and leaves the kitchen, his face bright red.
What a pair you are!
The goulash is bubbling in the cauldron. You draw the warm air in through your nose, and the smell makes your mouth start watering.
Do you know what Lord Yonan wants?
The maid gives you an amused look. She has often accused you of making things more complicated than necessary. The beer that is delivered to the vaults is supposed to be the best beer in Idderslane. It's certainly your favourite beer, but you haven't drunk enough other beers to truly know.
I am your godfather, little one. I'll look after you just like I looked after your mother.
Little Akana grasps your calloused finger and smiles at you wide-eyed.
The blacksmith. Do you want something?
Did a horse bolt while you were trying to shoe it? It's certainly not on our plates.
Of the 200 or so people selected to learn the art of magic under Lot Yonan, there's barely a handful of them you can stand the sight of. You're not at all interested in magic in all its elusiveness and whimsy. Your realm is the forge. Lot Yonan didn't just take you in. He also taught you how to read and write. But you don't feel like reading right now. Especially as you already know all the books by heart. A map of Girdlegard. The kingdoms of the humans are marked, but the map maker's focus was the magic realms of the Magi. Yonandar, Brandokai, Lios Nudin, Oromira, Saborian and Tuguria. While most of the landscape features are missing, the veins of the magic fields are marked in painstaking precision. 5 veins spread out under Girdlegard, beginning at Lios Nudin in the middle.
Master Lot Yonan, Frala told me you wished to speak with me.
Ah, Tungdil, come in. There is a bag over there in the cupboard. Take it out, please. It contains artifacts belonging to my former famulus Goren. I wish to return them to him. He's in Blacksaddle, 300 miles away.
300 miles? That's a long journey. Who are you going to entrust with this?
I was thinking of you.
Me?
There is no one better to take on this journey. You have acquired much knowledge. You are almost a scholar. You know more than most famuli about Girdlegard and its inhabitants. It is time for you to go out into the world and see it with your own eyes.
With pleasure. What's in the bag?
Magical devices. You better leave the bag closed if you want to avoid any accidents. Dwarves don't really like magic, and magic doesn't like you either.
Rakus gave us so much craftsmanship that there's no space left in our bodies for magic.
Strictly speaking, every time you've been too close to magic, it has ended in catastrophe.
Perhaps I'll meet some dwarves on my travels.
Yes, perhaps. But don't hold out too much hope. And be careful who you talk to. Not everyone out there likes dwarves.
Yeah, goblins. They abduct baby dwarves and sell them to magi, from what I've heard.
Not the best bit of business I've ever done. But what was I to do? The Longnoses threatened to throw you into the nearest river. Be on your guard. Look after the bag and don't lose it. May Palandiel be with you. And Vrakas too, of course.
I'll set off immediately. I'll see you soon, Lot Yonan.
Just as you reach the door, your stomach rumbles. It's not even noon yet, and you think you're going to survive a 300-mile journey without provisions?
Vegetables, bread, cheese, but the cook is not to be trifled with. Many painful knuckles have taught you that she knows how to handle her heavy wooden spoon, and that she may possibly have eyes in the back of her head. The goulash is bubbling in the cauldron. You draw the warm air in through your nose, and the smell makes your mouth start watering.
Hello, Frala. I've got a present for you.
You take out a symbol of protection that you've carefully made from 3 horseshoe nails.
It's not the finest jewellery in Girdlegard.
One look at Frala's face makes it clear that it doesn't matter. She glows with happiness as she takes the pendant.
For me? But why?
Because you don't see me as an oddity, and you're like a little sister to me.
You could have said, but you settle with a shrug and a crooked smile.
I need provisions for 300 miles.
You're grinning from ear to ear. Finally, you've got the chance to see something of the world.
300? Tungdil, that's no errand. That's an epic journey. Wait, I've got just the right thing. But make sure the cook doesn't see.
I'm going to Blacksaddle to return a few things to a former apprentice in the Magus.
You pocket the rye bread, sausages, and ham. Enough food for the first few days of your journey.
Perhaps I'll even meet some dwarves on the way.
Frala throws you a cautious glance. It's a tricky subject that you can't help but broach.
There aren't dwarves down here. You're the only one in Idderslane, as far as we know.
I know, but I can't just have been born out of a rock. Somewhere in the mountains, I have a clan. Maybe even a family.
Yes. Maybe.
Frala has reminded you more than once that Lot Yonan wrote to the dwarf clans, and none of them were missing a dwarf boy.
I have to go. I've got a long journey ahead of me.
I wish you the blessing of Palandiel and Vracus to protect you from all danger on your journey. Here, a talisman. Whenever you look at it, think of me.
Frala winks at you mischievously.
And of getting me a nice present.
How nice to see you again, Lot Yonan. It must have been an age since we last met face to face.
Nudin, welcome. Please, sit down.
No, thank you, my friend. These are urgent matters, and I don't have much time. You must come to Leos Nudin immediately. The perished land is stirring.
Are you sure? What makes you think that?
I found out about 60 orbits ago.
during a visit to the borders. Our magical barriers have weakened and become porous. The Elfar have left their land, and a huge horde of orcs have marched into Girdlegard.
Were you able to strengthen the spell with your magic?
No. I can't repair the damage alone. We need the combined power of the 6. The other 4 are already on their way here, but we need your help too.
I will set off for Parista without delay.
Oh, and as you're coming, could you also take the opportunity to bring back the things that I lent to you?
Of course. I have them already packed in a bag.
Oh, thank you. We'll be expecting you.
Utterly blinded by the sunlight, you squeeze your eyes tightly shut after only a few steps. The time spent underground has made you so sensitive to light that you're forced to seek shelter in the shade of a mighty oak. You reach a small lake by a birchwood. Your feet hurt and your eyes still sting in the unaccustomed sunlight. But a smile spreads across your face nonetheless. You've covered a decent distance on the first day of your big journey. You pitch your camp and lie down to sleep on the hard forest floor. When you awake in the morning, your legs are stiff and achy. Trying not to feel sorry for yourself, you throw your rucksack over your shoulder. You're a dwarf. And dwarves don't complain. Around midday, with the sun high in the sky and the first beads of sweat appearing on your forehead, you see something move next to the road, a few hundred meters ahead. Some crows are pecking at something in the long grass. When you see the blood on the ground, you try to convince yourself it's from an animal that just happened to be killed on the road by a hunter. You know this is improbable, and your hope disappears completely when you see 2 human bodies lying in the flattened grass. A slender man lies in front of you, dressed in an expensive robe. It is in the colours of Turgur the Fair-Faced, one of the 6.
By Vracus.
There are some narrow stab wounds in the man's chest. The cuts are too big to have been made by arrows, but too small for sword wounds.
Nothing.
You don't see any signs of a struggle in the area where the corpses are lying. Were they stabbed by a companion? A stranger could hardly have crept up on them with such sparse cover. You look down on a tall, broadly built man. He's wearing dark brown leather armor that is strengthened with iron plates. There's a sword lying next to him. Was he trying to defend himself against something? Or someone? There is no blood on the sword. The man has the same incisions. It's clear that both men were killed by the same weapon. But what that weapon might be, you cannot say. A rucksack that probably belonged to one of the dead. It seems to have been searched and then thrown away carelessly. You find a few implements, some provisions, and a map. A route is drawn on it from Parista, Nudin's capital, to Lot-Yonan's vaults.
Does this mean that Turga the Fair-Faced is in Parista and wanted to send Lot-Yonan a message? And if so, why didn't he use magic? Did he want to contact him without anyone noticing? Why all this secrecy? Nothing again.
You halt. There is something.
Another rucksack?
You open the rucksack and recognize that someone has already rummaged through it. As well as some implements and writing utensils, you find a pouch full of gold and a talisman. The gold is proof that this is not a case of robbery. Warmth and a feeling of security flush through your body as you touch the talisman. You feel safer just holding it in your hand.
I'm taking you with me.
You scour the area once more and ask yourself what to do next. It's time-consuming and strenuous work digging shallow graves in the ground with a stick and covering the corpses with a few stones. But it should at least keep the crows from their feasting for a while. You continue on your way so as to put a few more miles between you and your grisly find before night falls. You see a flickering light through the trees some way from the path. It might come from a campfire. You creep through the undergrowth towards the fire, but can't prevent your armor from clattering and small twigs from breaking under every heavy step you take. You curse quietly to yourself, but go on until you can see what's going on. 3 broad-shouldered men with axes sit at a campfire, on which 2 rabbits are sizzling. It's only thanks to the fact that the men are joking loudly with one another and not paying attention to their surroundings that they haven't discovered you yet.
You sneak up on the men until a thick branch breaks loudly under your boot. You realize, terrified, that the men's voices have fallen silent. The men jump up and grab their axes.
Who's there?
You step into the light of the fire, your hands raised in a conciliatory gesture.
My name is Tungdil. I'm only...
Well, I'll be. Is that a groundling?
The men look you over suspiciously.
What's a groundling doing creeping around here? Are you after our gold?
I bet you was hoping to slit our throats once we fell asleep, subterranean scum.
Your heart is pounding, and you confront the man a little more courageously than you feel.
I'm no thief, and I'm certainly no murderer. I only wanted to see if...
Pah! All groundlings are thieves and good-for-nothings.
You find it difficult to take control of your voice again.
Have you met many dwarves?
Enough to know that you're all dirty thieves.
The next morning, visions of axes, faces full of hate, fists and heavy boots flicker through your befuddled mind. Your first attempt to move fails when pain shoots through every bone, every muscle, and every nerve in your body. It's a long time before you manage to sit up and tend to your wounds in the early sunlight. There's no trace of the woodcutters. They must have thrown you into the undergrowth near the campfire once they were finished with you. As the gable end of a small farmhouse and a barn appear from behind a hilltop, you hear the loud cries of children at play. A girl runs along the path laughing, followed by a small boy with a big stick in his hand. The boy is trying to catch up his sister with a determined look on his face, but is finding it difficult to keep his short legs under control on the uneven path. The boy trips and falls to the ground with a bump. Before the girl can reach him to help, he picks himself up and grabs the stick to continue the chase. In doing so, he catches a glimpse of you, and his eyes grow wide. All he manages to say is, "There," as he points towards you with a chubby little finger. Now the girl has turned to face you too. Before you can say a word, she lifts her little brother up into her arms and runs screaming towards the farmhouse. You don't wish to scare the children further, so you continue on your journey. You look down on a large village on the banks of the Warder. Some of the village is built on stilts in the river. A wooden bridge spans the fast-flowing water. A huge wooden palisade has been erected to protect the village from attack. The guards on the palisade are watching you. Their armor looks well cared for and well made. The smith who made them knew what he was doing. You conclude that the men depend on the protection the armor offers and aren't just wearing them to look good. They're certainly not villagers. You have spent the last nights under bushes on the hard, cold ground. You are yearning for a good meal and a real bed. You have spent the last... There are small fires burning every 50 steps or so. They are intended to light up the area in front of the palisade in the night, so that orcs can't creep up to within an arrow's reach without being seen.
Orc skulls?
You're not sure it's wise to taunt the beasts with the severed heads of their fellow kind.
The double gate is made of strong planks, sturdy but still much less solid than the fixed parts of the palisade. Security has been forgone here for practical reasons. Never a good idea when building fortifications.
Some of the guards begin to whisper as you near the gate.
Hello up there!
What brings you to fair Goodwater? And have you seen any orcs on your travels, groundling?
The man leaning over the palisade eyes you up and down carefully.
Goodwater is well known for its hospitality.
A fact that you've just made up yourself.
Let me in, and I will tell other travellers all about it.
I regret to inform you that we cannot allow you to enter. The gates stayed closed once night has fallen.
There is certainly no regret showing in the man's face.
I'm a blacksmith. And a dwarf. Let me tell you, your gate might look solid, but it won't withstand a real orc assault.
The murmuring all around him makes the man pause for a moment. If anyone else had criticized the stronghold, they'd have been laughed down and shooed away. But no one understands defense systems like the dwarves.
A dwarf blacksmith who just happens to be standing in front of our gate?
That's right. I can see to it that orcs crack open their skulls on your gate, just like at home on the High Pass. Skulls that add up to hard cash for you.
You only know about the secondling stronghold from books, but you can see in the man's face you've pushed the right buttons.
All right then. You can spend the night in the village. You begin work tomorrow morning, and it had better work like you promised.
Of course. It's a trifle.
After a meal, you spend the night in the comfort and shelter of a Goodwater tavern. The next morning, you feel fully refreshed. You strengthen the gate with cross braces of wood and iron, using your experience and skill. Now it should be able to withstand an attack for much longer. Mercenaries and villagers alike watch you work, clearly impressed. As you finish, a man approaches you.
Well done, dwarf. We were right to bring you into our village.
The village grew rich through bridge tolls, and this wealth must be defended. You're proud of what you've achieved in such a short time. You've even invested more time than was wise.
I was happy to help, but half the day is lost and I must be on my way.
A strong dwarf like you will always be welcome here in Goodwater. Be careful out there. Who knows where the orcs might be lurking?
An uneasy feeling has been your constant companion since you left Goodwater. Every little sound in the forest makes you fear you've been discovered by a horde of orcs. But you reach the end of the day without bumping into any of the greenskins. It seems as though Vracus has granted you one more day in Girdlegard. As night begins to fall, you pass a large oak tree and decide to call it a day. Near the oak tree is an abandoned camp with a fireplace, which appears to be a couple of days old. You take over the abandoned camp. Whoever slept here before clearly left again without any problem. You see that as a good omen, but don't want to rely on your luck and force yourself to stay awake. Some hours later, you jolt from an uneasy sleep, and terrified, you look around you. Relieved, you notice that the forest all around is just as calm as it was before. You promise yourself that this won't happen again, and look straight into the face of an orc who is holding a knife to your throat. Before you fully realize the hopelessness of your situation, you feel the blade cutting through your jugular. The last thing you see is a group of orcs baring their teeth coming towards you. Then everything turns black.